Let's start with our first news. Khamzat has officially reacted to the latest comments and actions from Strickland, and things are starting to heat up fast ahead of UFC 328. With the fight just a couple of weeks away, both fighters are already going back and forth on social media, building serious tension before they even step into the cage. This rivalry is getting personal, and the UFC is clearly paying attention. Dana White has already stated that security will be increased during fight week due to the growing hostility between the two. But based on how things are escalating, it might not be a bad idea to implement those measures immediately. Recently, Strickland responded to Khamzat's earlier comment about how a street fight would be very different from a cage fight, even saying, if he dies in that context. Strickland didn't just reply with words, though. He took things a step further by driving close to Khamzat's training location in Southern California and posting his location online. At one point, he claimed he was just 10 minutes away from Khamzat's gym and even uploaded a video calling him out for not showing up. Now, Khamzat has fired back in his own way. He posted an image on X showing a wolf wearing a championship belt, clearly representing himself, while Strickland was depicted as a lamina costume. It's a symbolic jab, but one that sends a clear message about how Khamzat views this matchup, while it may not be as direct or aggressive as Strickland's approach. It definitely adds fuel to the fire rather than calming things down. Right now, fans are just hoping this rivalry stays under control long enough for both fighters to actually meet inside the octagon, where it truly matters. Move on to another news. Ilia has opened up about the challenge of preparing for Justin Gaethje's striking, and it sounds like this is not your typical fight camp situation. Known for his calculated and precise approach, Ilia revealed that he and his team carefully study their opponent's habits, patterns, and reactions. They break everything down, then drill specific combinations designed to counter those tendencies over and over again until it becomes second nature. However, this time around, things are not going as smoothly. According to Ilia, one of the biggest problems they're facing is finding sparring partners who can accurately replicate Gaethje's unique and unpredictable style. In a recent clip shared online, Ilia admitted that trying to mimic Gaethje in training has been extremely difficult, even for high-level fighters. He explained that Gaethje throws punches from very weird angles, often catching opponents off guard. What makes it even more complicated is how Gaethje tends to drop his hands while throwing with the other, creating chaotic and unconventional openings. It's not textbook striking, and that's exactly what makes it so dangerous. Ilia even joked that he feels sorry for his sparring partners because of how tough the assignment is. He mentioned that if he himself were a little easier to read, it would actually make their job simpler. But when it comes to Gaethje, the word Ilia kept repeating was clear: weird, weird, weird. That unpredictability is something you can't easily simulate in a controlled environment. This insight doesn't come as a surprise to longtime fans of Gaethje, who has built his reputation on being one of the most violent and unorthodox strikers in the sport. His ability to break rhythm and create chaos inside the cage has troubled even elite-level opponents. Despite these challenges, Ilia has remained confident in his abilities. Publicly, he has continued to state that he plans to finish Gaethje early, even claiming he can get the job done in the first round. That level of confidence shows he believes his preparation, even with its difficulties, will still be enough. Now, it all comes down to execution. Move on to another news. Dustin has made it very clear that there is still no love lost between him and Conor. Speaking on the Deep Waters podcast, the topic of Conor's return came up, especially following the devastating leg injury he suffered in their last fight back in 2021. While some fighters tend to soften their stance over time, that is definitely not the case here. During the discussion, Chris Weidman shared his thoughts on Conor's recovery and future, saying that he genuinely hopes the best for him moving forward. He also gave his opinion on the chances of Conor making a comeback, estimating it at around 80%. Weidman pointed out that Conor is already back in the drug testing pool, which usually signals serious intent to return. According to him, fighters don't go through that process unless they are planning to compete again, especially considering how demanding it can be on the body. He also mentioned that since the injury happened years ago, Conor has had more than enough time to recover physically. However, he acknowledged that coming back from such a severe injury is never easy. Drawing from his own experience with a similar setback, Weidman explained that the first fight back is often the toughest. Even if the body heals, regaining full confidence and performing at the same level can be a massive challenge. But when it was Dustin's turn to respond, the tone instantly shifted. Initially, Dustin gave his own prediction, saying there's about a 60% chance that Conor returns, leaving a fair amount of doubt. However, when the conversation turned more personal, Dustin didn't hold back at all. After hearing Weidman express support for Conor, Dustin bluntly stated that he actually hopes for the worst. For him, the comment caught everyone off guard, and even Dustin quickly acknowledged how harsh it sounded, but the message was already delivered. This wasn't just competitive tension, this was real animosity that clearly still lingers between the two. Despite the time that has passed since their last fight, it's obvious that the rivalry remains intense. There's no sign of respect being rebuilt, at least not from Dustin's side, and it adds another layer of intrigue to anything involving Conor's potential return. Move on to another news. Dana White has responded to questions regarding RAF and their recent strategy of using UFC fighters for their events, along with their announcement that they have officially signed Khamzat to a deal. The discussion came up after reports surfaced just hours earlier that Real American Freestyle Wrestling had added Khamzat to their growing roster. During the media exchange, Dana was asked if he was already aware of the signing and whether he had any involvement or prior knowledge about it. The question specifically referenced RAF and their increasing presence in the combat sports space, especially their recent trend of bringing in well-known UFC talent to boost their events. When the topic was raised, Dana confirmed he understood what was being discussed, acknowledging the promotion and the reported signing. His reaction was brief but direct, showing that he was aware of RAF's ongoing activities in the wrestling scene. He was then asked for his thoughts on RAF as a whole, particularly their recent push to build events featuring high-profile fighters and mixed combat sports athletes. The promotion has been steadily gaining attention for its aggressive recruitment strategy and attempts to blend wrestling entertainment with recognizable MMA names. Dana's response was short and measured. He simply stated, "Good for them." There was no criticism, no deeper breakdown, and no indication of concern. Instead, he kept his answer extremely neutral, suggesting that he sees RAF's efforts as their own business direction rather than something requiring UFC interference or commentary. He then added that he hopes it works out for them, keeping the tone supportive. But distant, the message was clear. While RAF may be expanding and signing notable names like Khamzat, Dana is not directly engaging with their strategy or treating it as a competitive issue at this stage. Overall, his reaction reflected a calm and non-confrontational stance, rather than reacting strongly to RAF's growing use of UFC fighters or their recent signing announcements. He maintained a relaxed attitude and avoided escalating the discussion. Move on to another news. Dana White is facing growing legal scrutiny following reports that Conor Benn has resigned with Zuffa Boxing on a multi-fight deal, a move that has triggered questions around how the agreement was structured and whether proper processes were followed. The situation has sparked wider discussion in combat sports circles, especially around promotional transparency and how crossover boxing deals are being structured behind the scenes. Eddie Hearn has publicly raised concerns, suggesting something does not add up with how the deal came together. Speaking to Fight Hub, he questioned why no one from Zuffa Boxing attended Benn's fight, and then a new contract was announced just 2 days later. Some insiders have also suggested that the timing of the announcement raises eyebrows, although nothing has been officially proven or confirmed by any regulatory body. Imagine doing a one-fight deal and no one from the organization even attends the fight, and then just 2 days later a new deal is signed. It's almost like the original agreement was never real. There have been legal conversations ongoing, and we will absolutely seek clarity, because all we need is to ensure we were not misled. Critics argue that such rapid deal changes could indicate pre-arranged negotiations, while supporters of the promotion say it is simply efficient business practice in modern combat sports. Following UFC Winnipeg, Dana White was asked about the criticism from Eddie Hearn. He dismissed the comments, saying that he is used to hearing criticism and that people should wait and judge the promotion by its results at the end of the year. He emphasized patience, insisting that long-term performance and event delivery will ultimately silence outside criticism and speculation. Dana also appears aware of ongoing debate about fighter pay and comparisons between boxing and the UFC. However, he made it clear that his focus remains on building the promotion rather than engaging in outside comparisons. Paddy Pimblett also weighed in, suggesting that if Dana White ever stepped into a boxing fight, it would generate massive revenue. He claimed both sides could potentially earn around $30 million each, though he acknowledged that boxing has historically delivered the biggest payouts in combat sports. His comments were seen by some as tongue-in-cheek, given the well-known financial gap between boxing main events and standard MA payouts. Arter talks about move to light heavyweight following his loss to Baralho last month. Move on to another news. Benoit Saint-Denis and Paddy Pimblett could be on a collision course next, and the signs are only getting stronger as more details continue to surface. We recently covered how Saint-Denis himself hinted at a potential fight with the Englishman after posting a cryptic promo video that clearly suggested his next opponent would be from the UK. That alone was enough to get fans talking, especially since Paddy Pimblett has been heavily linked to a major return fight around International Fight Week. The timing immediately raised speculation that this could be the matchup both sides were hinting at. In the video posted by Saint-Denis, he teased a future opponent without naming anyone directly, but the context made things pretty obvious. With Paddy being one of the most talked about lightweight names in that region, many fans quickly connected the dots and assumed he was the target. The speculation didn't stop there. Shortly after, the French combat sports outlet Lesser, which Saint-Denis follows on X, added even more fuel to the fire by posting a report claiming that Saint-Denis and Paddy Pimblett are expected to face off on the UFC card scheduled for July 11th. That date lines up closely with International Fight Week, which Paddy himself has previously mentioned as his expected return window. When you combine all of these details, the situation starts to look less like speculation and more like a firm possibility. Multiple sources, online activity, and fighter comments are all pointing in the same direction. Paddy has already publicly stated that he wants to compete during International Fight Week, and Saint-Denis appears to be actively teasing a high-profile opponent. Both timelines seem to align perfectly, making this matchup one of the most talked about potential fights in the lightweight division right now. If this fight does get officially signed, it would mark a massive step up in competition and a major test for both fighters. Saint-Denis brings relentless pressure and finishing ability, while Paddy carries knockout power and heavy fan attention. Right now, nothing is officially confirmed, but all signs strongly suggest that Saint-Denis versus Pimblett is very close to becoming reality. With momentum continuing to build behind the matchup, move on to another news. Demetrious Johnson has made a very clear prediction ahead of the rumored clash between Khamzat and Strickland, and he is not buying into the idea that this will be a competitive fight. Since the matchup was first announced, there has been a growing debate among fans, with some believing Strickland could present the toughest challenge of Khamzat's career so far. However, Mighty Mouse does not share that opinion. As previously reported, Demetrious Johnson has been spending time training with Khamzat, giving him a close-up look at his preparation, discipline, and overall skill set. Based on what he has seen inside the gym, he believes the gap between the two fighters is much wider than many people think. In a recent video, Johnson broke down his thoughts on the matchup in detail, and his prediction was extremely decisive. He described the fight as one that could turn into complete domination, stating that Khamzat is operating at a very high level in every aspect of his training. He praised Khamzat's team, highlighting the structure and intensity of his camp. According to him, nothing is being left to chance. Every detail is being drilled, every scenario is being prepared for, and the work ethic remains consistent from start to finish. He emphasized that Khamzat is not skipping any steps in his preparation, whether it is sparring, grappling, or striking drills. Johnson also pointed out that this level of preparation is what makes Khamzat so dangerous going into big fights. In his view, when a fighter combines elite physicality with disciplined training habits, it becomes extremely difficult for opponents to find openings. When it came to an official prediction, Demetrious Johnson did not hesitate. He stated that he fully expects Khamzat to dominate the fight and even suggested a potential finish in the 4th round. In his eyes, the pressure, pace, and grappling threat will eventually break Strickland down as the fight progresses. His comments have added even more attention to the matchup, especially considering his experience at the highest level of the sport. While fans continue to debate how competitive the fight will be, Johnson's outlook is firmly on one side, believing Khamzat will control the action and close the fight decisively before the final bell.